In this lesson, we're going to address the Auto Snap tool. The Auto Snap tool brings into play lots of different snap considerations and limitations that we have to be concerned about. So this is a good topic. It's an extensive topic, so let's get on with it. First of all, we want to say draw a line, 2-point line, then it defaults to Auto Snap. And we're Auto Snap. And the first thing I want you to notice about Auto Snap is that it tells you what it's snapped to. Right now it's snapped to the middle of that line. Now it's snapped to the end of that line. It's snapped to a grid point. It's snapped to a reference point on that circle. Another reference point, the center reference point. Another reference point. Here we snap to the middle of the arc, end point of the arc. So anytime we have entities that are close together, this is an intersection, this is an end. This little word game that follows around the mouse, it tells you what you're snapped to. That way the auto function, since the auto function does have various things that can snap to, it keeps you alerted as to what you're currently snapped to right this moment. So that's very important. I want you to keep that in mind throughout the rest of this lesson. An auto snap has certain conditions that it will meet. Here's a help file within the program, and it talks about the auto snap tool. Snaps to the closest intersection point, closest end point, middle point, on down the line, in that sequence of priority. If you buy the book that they sell, Qcad sells, the book is much more, has many more details in it. So let's take a look at the book for a second. Notice how the book has pictures of the auto snap function, but to really understand it, you have to understand the reference function above it. If you remember, we earlier went through the reference function, the reference snap function. And it snaps to all these reference points that are on lines and entities when they're drawn. So these are reference points on entities, which are always there once you create an entity. Well, this auto snap tool, in addition to those same reference points on entities, it also snaps to the middles of lines, the middles of the centers of arcs, centers of circles, intersections. So it does these things here in addition to those reference snap points on entities. If you're interested in obtaining the book, it comes in two flavors. It has an ebook, which is a PDF file, and also has a paper physical book. And it's in French, German, and English. It can be located at ribbonsoft.com, same place you bought your Qcad. I highly recommend this book because it has much more in-depth descriptions of the tools, and it also has more in-depth procedures how to do certain drawing situations. So I highly recommend the book, and can't go wrong as using this book as your quick reference guide. So we've got a line, 2-point line selected. We're in auto mode. We're going to let it go to the middle of this line. That's going to be the starting point for our line. First point. It's going to be the middle of this line. So we left click. We come down here. Now it wants to go to the middle of the next line. But we don't want to do that. What we want to do is restrict it so this line remains vertical. So down here we have three tools. They're called orthogonal tools. These tools only allow the mouse to move in 90-degree increments. It can go up, down, left, or right. It can't go to any other angle in between. So by putting a vertical orthogonal restriction on this auto snap tool, now the line will come straight down. I want you to notice that it will not connect with that line because the middle is not where it is, and it won't connect to any point on the line. We can come down to this part of the line or below the line, but if I click right here, I want you to notice that the line did not zoom in a little bit. The line did not make it down to here, all right? That's because it can't snap to any point on the line in the auto snap mode. The reason we can't snap to any point on that line is because down here in the application preferences under auto snap, the points on entity is disabled. I guess they decided that wasn't a good feature most of the time, so we won't enable it. We'll leave it disabled, and that's why we can't snap to points on the entity even though the documentation says you can snap to points on entity. What you can do to resolve this problem, get back, we'll delete this line, get rid of it, hit the delete key, go back and try it again. So we'll use a 2-point line, auto snap mode. It'll go to the middle of this line. We left click first point of the line. We use a vertical orthogonal restriction. Now it won't touch this point on the line where it would normally intersect. But what we can do is we can select any point on a line, and now it will go to that point on the line. So now if we go and look at it up close, you can see that, snap to get that red circle. You can see it did go right to a point on the line. Next we're going to auto snap to the intersection of two lines using the auto snap tool, which would be right here. If you notice, it's right there. So that does work. So we're on the first point of our 2-point line. Now I want to extend the line out here. Well, there's nothing out here to snap to. So what I can do is I horizontally restrict the line, and it just comes out horizontally restricted. I'm going to place it right there. So that was a horizontal restriction of the line. Always remember to turn these off when you're finished with them, because later on you'll be trying to do something and it won't work and you have no idea why. You forget about the restriction you had applied to it. Okay, we're still in the auto mode, so we're going to draw another line. First point down here, it says first point. I'm going to snap it to the end point of that line. And now I'm going to put this orthogonal restriction in all four directions. So now I can only go to the right, up, left, or down. Can't go in any other direction. It doesn't care how far I go, but that limits these 4 planes of motion. So we'll place a line right there. So that's what happens when you select this tool here. It's called the restrict orthogonally. And once again, when you don't need it, turn it off. Sometimes the next thing you want to draw, you don't want to start from the last place you clicked your mouse. You want to start from someplace else. So let's go ahead and go down here and we'll click this tool, set relative 0. So we can set the relative 0 any place you want to. We're still in auto snap mode, so we could make the relative 0, for example, the center of the circle. Let's do that. So now it's in the center of the circle, and I want to draw several things from that. So what I can do, I can lock that relative reference point. Now it will not move. Now I'm going to continue drawing a line, still in auto snap mode. We'll draw a line right here, click for the first point. I can follow the grids. I can go to endpoints just like any other line. The point I want to make here is that now, notice the relative reference point did not follow me to my last click point. It stayed right there because I have it locked. So now I can take another line if I want to. I can snap it up here to this grid, take another line, snap it down here to this endpoint. So you can make multiple entities originate from that locked reference point. Once again, once you're finished with it, make sure you unlock it so you don't forget about it. So now we've discussed these 6 tools. This tool here is just restrictions are off. There are no restrictions. How they all impact the auto snap tool. They also impact other tools too. If you want to do some other tools, a lot of times you'll be able to use these things to get different results with your other snap tools. So this concludes the auto snap tool lesson.